Um, and I wanted to give a very big welcome to everyone. And I'm very glad that that you could join us today for our webinar. Obviously, you know, it's called Mental Health for Parents, which I think it's a very important theme. And whether you're here for ideas, for support, for just looking for a moment to breathe, really, you're in the right place. And we have a truly fantastic lineup of speakers, people who have been personally inspiring to me as a parent. I've been following you guys for a while, and you've truly been inspiring to me. So as soon as I had this opportunity, I knew I wanted to talk to you and reach out and see what we could do together. And I think we're going to start with Emily Hughes from Finding Flow Parenting. We're going to have Amanda Hadfield joining us as well. She actually sent a recording because she had a last minute emergency, so she couldn't attend, but she sent us a recording. So we're still going to hear from Amanda Hadfield from North Star Parenting. We have Dora, Tomaz, and Marina, Cordeiro, who are hypnotherapists. We'll also hear from Rebecca, and then just to wrap it up, we're going to hear from Natasha Iregbu. Right. Emily, I'm handing over to you.
Great. So do you want me to just speak, or are you going to ask me questions, or should I just go for it?
Well, I was thinking we could leave the questions for the end, just because.
Okay, great. Yeah, cool.
We'll just leave the questions for the end and just share your insights and experience with us, please.
Okay, great. So, I was asked to speak on communication with children and also setting boundaries. And these are two topics I really, really like talking about. And so I'll start off with communication. One of the things that I think when we're starting to try to improve our communication with our kids, often we're very focused on, well, what do I say? How do I say the right words in my parenting? And actually, I always think that we should start communication a little bit differently. We should start it from a base of, well, let's listen to our children. And once we've listened to our children and they feel heard, and that is like a regular pattern in our parenting, then things get easier naturally because, to be heard is a core human need, whether you're 5 or 45 or anything in between. To be heard is a core human need. And often when we're feeling like our communication is not great with our kids, it's often because we're feeling like we're not being heard. And it's like this core human need to be heard is somehow being violated by our child. And of course, that's not really what's going on, but it's just that we all have such strong needs to be listened to. So, one of the things that I always start with my coaching clients on is like how we get better at active listening. And we live in like such a busy, chaotic world full of distractions. And to actually sit and to truly listen, it's such powerful, powerful gift. And it's also really hard because we've got the mental load and all of these other things going on. And if you've got multiple children, it's legitimately hard. So just kind of carving out like little pockets of time. And one of the things, just as a really practical tool for active listening, particularly if you are not a fantastic listener. And I really, I will say, I listen to people all day for my job, but like I have had to train myself to be a better listener because 10 years ago I was not a very good listener. I mean, one of the things, just really simple tool when you're listening to your kids is just to repeat back some things that they've said. And it sounds so simple, and many people will do that intuitively, but a lot of people don't do that intuitively because perhaps no one ever did it for them when they were a kid. And so when you're doing active listening with your kids, just repeating back some of the things they've said, even if it's just the last thing they said, it's just going to help them feel heard, feel connected to you. And then once they feel connected, once their core needs are met, it's much easier for you to communicate with them. And then the other thing, you asked me to talk about was setting boundaries. And I think that, so often it's a big reason why parents are struggling right? Because they're struggling to set the appropriate boundaries. They're struggling to hold the boundaries, and they're struggling to know what the limits are. And really, at the core of all of this, I think, is around trusting ourselves as parents. And so many parents who I see who are struggling in their parenting, one of the core reasons why they're struggling is because actually they don't really trust themselves. There's so much doubt. And in a way, if you are a parent who has doubt, it means you're introspective. So that's a good thing, right? It's a good thing to be introspective, to be questioning yourself. But it can maybe be difficult when we're trying to set boundaries with our kids. So, um, why might people struggle to set boundaries? Well, sometimes it's about worrying about being too strict. Sometimes it's about worrying the opposite, worrying about being too permissive. And sometimes it's about this feeling of like dread. Like if I set these boundaries with my kids, I'm gonna get pushed back on that boundary and I can't handle the meltdown. And so that can be a big barrier to setting boundaries. One of the things I always like to say is that, and this is a little image from Daniel Siegel, and he talks about boundaries as being like a kid riding a bicycle over a bridge. And if you're riding a bicycle over a bridge and there's no guardrails, that feels terrifying. But if you're riding the same bicycle over the same bridge, but there's guardrails on either side, that feels safe. And this is the thing I firmly believe is that children actually like boundaries. They don't like them for a short time when the boundaries are being established. But in the long term, they do like boundaries because boundaries make them feel safe. And boundaries make family life easier. And it's a little bit sometimes a little bit like these three oranges. And when we're setting boundaries, okay, so if we're trying to really be in so much control, right? What's going to happen is we're either going to do one of two things. We are going to squelch our children, literally, if I squeeze these oranges, or we're probably going to end up losing control and kind of one's going to pop out of our hands, right? Equally, so let's say we're too controlling. Equally, if we're not at all controlling, the oranges are just going to fall off our hands, right? But if we keep just the right level of like healthy, moving, flexible control, then we can find flow in family life. And that's the name of my business, finding flow. And yeah, so one of the things that I really help clients get really clear on is kind of like why we would set boundaries in the first place. So here's some ideas that I've got on why we would set boundaries. To protect our energy, right? Protect our personal boundaries. Because here's the thing, when we get clear on why we're setting a boundary, when you root yourself in the why, rather than just like I'm setting a rule, my kid doesn't like it, they're telling me I'm mean, I'm getting in a tizzy. When we get really crystal clear on why we're setting the boundary, so much easier to stick with it and to be kind whilst we're sticking to it because we're feeling centered and grounded. So it would be why we would set boundaries to protect our energy, to protect our boundaries, to protect other people's boundaries, and to kind of respect other people, to establish a healthy habit or a long-term goal. I'll give a little example of that. My son, he's a big reader, and we've had to establish a boundary this week, a new boundary, because he started just wanting to read a book walking down the street. And it's like he was getting very upset when I'm trying to bring in this new boundary, kind of explaining to him that it's not a healthy habit to be reading whilst walking, because when you're walking, you need to be alert, you need to be aware. And we're 4 days into this new boundary, And now it's not a problem. He's handing over his books to me when we're walking. It's not a problem anymore. So again, kind of with that example, another reason why we might set a boundary is to keep safe. So most people don't have issues setting boundaries when it comes to like keeping safe. So things like, not letting your kids ride a bike without a helmet, for example. But another one is, and this is where people are a little bit more unclear often, which is we might set a boundary to live in alignment with our values. So a lot of people are very unclear on actually what their values are. So your values are just things that you deem to be important. And often, it's a funny thing, but often people don't appreciate how unique their personal values are until you start writing them down and maybe compare them with a friend's values. And often when we do that process, finding out what our values are, it's much easier to set boundaries because you're like, I'm setting this boundary because it aligns with my value. And here's the thing, if a boundary doesn't do one of those things that I've just listed, if it doesn't protect people's boundaries or protect people's energy, if it doesn't establish healthy habits, if it doesn't keep people safe, or if it doesn't serve a value, then it's a flimsy boundary. And what's the point? So it's really kind of like getting clear on the why you're setting boundaries. And then really, I think two kind of final closing things about communication and boundaries is when you're setting a new boundary, the hardest thing for a child when you're setting a new boundary is ambiguity. It's this, is my parent going to backtrack on this? Or are they actually going to go through with this? And ambiguity is so stressful. So ambiguity is often the zone where meltdowns happen, right? And meltdowns, it makes sense that meltdowns would happen when we're setting boundaries, and meltdowns are healthy because they are like a child saying, I'm overwhelmed, and it's like a nervous system overwhelm expression. But also just knowing that if we reduce ambiguity and increase clarity and make our position clear, and we're clear and sturdy in ourselves, and then we give empathy, because boundaries are tough for little ones. They're necessary, but they're tough. They're really hard. And so just setting the boundary with so much empathy. So reducing ambiguity and showing up with so much empathy. And this is how we raise resilient kids who know that life is not always going to go their way, but they will always be supported and loved and empathized with. So yeah, I think that was about 10 minutes, right?
Oh, that was amazing. That was amazing. Thank you so much for that. Food for thought, really? Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
I do have questions, but I'm going to see if anybody wants to step in first and ask any questions. Go ahead, Martha.
Sorry, I'm so much about the boundaries, and I totally get where you're coming from. So I have a bit of a not easy question, which is, I'm a single mom, and my ex's boundaries are different from mine. And what I'm struggling about at the moment, and this is nothing new to you, is about social media. So I used to have an app that I would just block social media because my kids spend way too much time on their tablets. And my ex decided to give new tablets to the kids, and I don't have access to an app now to restrict it. This is really, really hard on me. So I have a teenager and 8-year-old. Any suggestions? Thank you.
And is there communication with the co-parent, or is that not so good, the communication with the co-parent? Well, you're on mute now.
Yeah, just realized. The kids' communication with their his dad is fine. His dad stopped talking to me.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm getting to a point where even if there's something with after school club, because my ex cannot pick up the kids, he will call after school club and ask after school club to call me. So there's no communication with my ex. I tried to get the mediator on board. And then the mediator helps as much as they can, because they said there's nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's I feel that there's maybe imposing, between commas, two sets of boundaries, which is the ones in my place and my ones in my ex's place. But poor kids are being thrown around.
Yeah, and I think a way, you know, with some single parents I've worked with before, a way to kind of talk about this is different households have different sets of values, which is why there's different rules, and that kind of some way to explaining why there are different rules. It's a really difficult one though, so there's a lot of kind of empathy with you there, and I think, you know, with when you're setting those boundaries on social media with your kids, just like again, I think the listening bit, listening to their frustrations, but then and empathizing with the fact that it's hard if all their friends or if there's different rules. It's a really tricky situation. So I think really, without kind of going into lots of detail, just um keeping with your own values and really kind of seeing it as like an opportunity for you in your family, in your home, to focus in on those values and knowing that the other household has different values and explaining it in that way. It's a difficult situation though, and yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any more questions from anybody? Right. I have one, Emily, if that's okay.
Yeah.
It's, to me, it's really hard to keep a balance, because I think it's a very fine line between being too authoritative or too permissive. And it's, to me, particularly, it's a little bit hard to. And because I try to listen to my son, but I also want him to feel like I'm actually listening.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that the distinction between what I can hear, how much it's not that he talks back, but more like, I'm listening to you, but I'm also trying to explain why you can't do this and set a boundary. Is there any strategies that you would recommend or any suggestions for that?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, sometimes it can feel obviously very disempowering for kids to have boundaries, but in a way, I think it's like, you know, we want our children to feel empowered, right? Because children who are empowered behave better because they're not having to fight for power. So it's really, I would say, like, how can you create other opportunities for healthy power in other situations where it's appropriate? And really, there is a lot of benefit in children experiencing futility. So futility is the point we get to where we're like, I feel powerless right now. There's nothing I can do. So kind of, it's often before a child gets to futility, there's a lot of fight, fight, fight. They get to futility, and then there's like a sort of softening. Maybe there's a bit of crying, and there's like an acceptance. And obviously, children who don't experience futility end up kind of entitled, and you know, none of us want that for our families. Um, so giving healthy power where it's safe to give healthy power, it's not coming into conflict with your boundaries, and knowing it's also healthy for a child to receive a bit of futility. If their whole life is futility, obviously that's disempowering, but it's a balance between um, receiving futility and also finding places where they can feel empowered and uh, yeah, because actually I mentioned the core need of humans is to feel heard. Another core need of humans, whether you're 5 or 55 or 35, is power. And we need to feel like autonomy, power, choice, and kind of having healthy balance of that, balanced out with that futility. We can't get everything that we want because that's realistic for life.
Absolutely. Right. I think we might move on, but if anybody has more questions for Emily, please feel free to drop them in the chat as well, and then I can forward them to Emily at the end as well, if that's okay.
Yep.
Right.
Thank you.
So I think next I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to put Amanda's presentation on, unless maybe Dora and Marina want to go next, and then we can leave the recorded for the end.
Yes, you feel better. For us, it's indifferent. If you want us to start now, we can start.
All right, so maybe you can start, and then I'll leave the recording for the end.
Okay. All right. Let us just share you something. I just want you to tell me if you're hearing this as well or not. If there is any problem with the sound.
Right.
Everybody's listening, okay? All right. Okay. So, first of all, I'd like to thank Karina for this opportunity, for being here, and I'd also like to thank everybody for being here and listening to us. Yes, and I'm Dora, and I'm Marina, and and we are hypnotherapists, Portuguese hypnotherapists. So we'd like to talk to you about a topic that is often overlooked, but is very deeply important, and it's called the postpartum depression. And first, to simplify, let's call it from now on as PPD. What is PPD? PPD is a serious mental condition that affects mostly new mothers, from 10 to 20% of new mothers, and usually the symptoms of PPD start appearing during the few weeks or months after the childbirth. According to recent studies, PPD rates have been increasing, and factors like the lower social economic status or the lack of access to healthcare can increase the risk of PPD. So usually when we talk about PPD, usually we refer to mothers. That's true. However, recent studies have shown that about 10% of men are also, or fathers, are also experiencing postpartum depression. I will just face it. Sorry. So as I was saying, 10% of fathers are experiencing also those symptoms of PPD. And many fathers, mostly fathers, suffer in silence due to social stigma, due to gender expectations, and also due to lack of awareness. And all of these make it harder for men not only to recognize the symptoms of PPD as well as to seek help. So it's essential to raise awareness, to encourage open conversations, and also to provide access to a mental health support for fathers as well as mothers. Although there are some similarities between mothers and fathers, the symptoms of PPD can differ due to biological, emotional, and social factors. So, the common symptoms in mothers are persistent sadness or crying, loss of interest or pleasure in activities, fatigue, changes in appetites or sleep patterns, guilt or not feeling worthy, anxiety or panic attacks, difficulty bonding with the baby and in severe cases harm the baby or herself. And the common symptoms in fathers are irritability, increased stress, or frustration, removing himself from family and social life, loss of interests in work for hobbies too, substance abuse like alcohol or drugs, physical symptoms like headaches, reckless behavior, and also difficulty bonding with the baby. So as you can see, the PPD is a serious condition. However, the good news is that it's treatable, and there are several conventional treatments options that are available. We're just going to refer a few. We have psychotherapy, which is one of the most common and effective treatment, and it can be done individually for the mother or for the father. It also can be done as a couple or in group sessions. We have medication, and medication, of course, we only talk about it. We talk about antidepressants, and this medication can help balance the brain chemicals that affect the mood. So it's important that any medication is prescribed and monitored by an healthcare professional, especially for breastfeeding mothers. We also have the support groups, and in the support groups, by joining the support group, both parents, mother and father, can connect to others going through the similar experiences, and that will give them the chance to share stories, to give advice, and that all will give an emotional support, and it will reduce the feeling of isolation. We also have the lifestyle changes, and in lifestyle changes like eating a balanced, healthy diet. It's good. Getting a regular sleep as much as possible, because sleeping it's necessary for our body. Engaging in a light physical activity, such as walking, for instance, and reducing stress also through, for instance, yoga or meditation. So there's another one that we like to talk to you about. We just wanted to talk to you about it. It's not very common, put it here. It's hormone therapy. In some cases, especially in mothers, hormonal changes after the childbirth may contribute to depression. So estrogen therapy has been explored as a potential treatment, though it is less common, but of course it requires also medical supervision. In addition to these conventional therapies, there's one capable of reversing the harmful effects of PPD, and it's helping to promote greater and better personal and family well-being. And we are talking about hypnotherapy. So what is hypnotherapy? Hypnotherapy is just a therapeutic technique that uses guided hypnosis to help a person to access a deeply relaxed state of mind. Imagine, for instance, that you are reading a book, and the story of that book is so captivating, so involving, that you don't hear anymore, you don't hear anything else around you, just focus on that book. That is a state of hypnosis. That is just to focus on that book, and nothing else around matters. So we usually, in our daily life, we get these states sometimes of hypnosis without really knowing it. And contrary to whatever everybody says, hypnosis It's not about taking control or being unconscious. No, not at all. A person during an hypnosis section is in full control. If she doesn't feel comfortable, she can awake and stop everything. As simple as that. And of course, the benefits. The benefits. The old traditional therapies, like as you said, psychotherapy and medication, are effective. And hypnotherapy is now emerging as a valuable complementary approach in supporting both emotional healing during the postpartum period. And it has several benefits. For instance, hypnotherapy promotes deep relaxation and helps to reduce anxiety, fear, tension, and emotional or overload, the common symptoms of PPD. Hypnotherapy can also allow parents to identify and gently shift all the negative thought patterns, such as guilt, sadness, feeling of inadequacy, and that will help to overcome depression. We also have another one. For instance, hypnotherapy can help to promote a better sleep by calming both the mind and the body. And in turn, it will support mood regulation and an overall mental well-being. It can also help to reinforce positive emotional connections and build self-esteem, and that will support a healthier connection between father or mother and the baby. Last but not least, for mothers who are breastfeeding or in doubt as to take medication, hypnotherapy also offers a natural and drug-free option. So if you or someone you know is experiencing symptoms of PPD, it's crucial to seek professional help. But hypnotherapy may be also a valuable addition to a comprehensive treatment plan. So this is all we had to bring you today. We are grateful. And once again, I would like to thank you, each and every one of you. And thank you for your time and for your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting. So I don't know a lot about hypnotherapy myself. So to have that sort of insight is really interesting for me. I do have a question. I think it's a quick one, but
Okay.
So you've mentioned that hypnotherapy is used more and more to treat postpartum depression, but sometimes PPD, as you said, it's not always treated in time, recognized or treated in time, even though we are getting better at recognizing it. How late can PPD be treated? Does it have to start as soon as first symptoms are identified? Can it be treated a little bit later? Can you give us any insights on that?
The idea would be really caught or catch PPD in time, in the beginning, in the early beginnings. But when that is impossible, because as you said, sometimes symptoms are not recognizable, it can be treated in a later period. And hypnotherapy helps with that, because what hypnotherapy does is to release the person, mother or the father, of all those heavy emotions that we carry with us and that we think we sometimes got rid of it, but we don't. They stay with us. It's like an onion with several layers of skin. So with hypnotherapy, we gradually start by removing not working right. So we start gradually with one emotion, and we go through all the others in different sessions, of course, and that will help the person to have another look at life be much more lighter and much more able to face all the all the all the obstacles that we have in our lives.
That's very interesting. Thank you. Does anybody else have a question? Go, Martha.
Sorry, me again. Hiya.
Right?
Regarding hypnotherapy, I actually did hypnotherapy for me, not for PPD, but for other reasons, and I totally vouch for that. I just wanted to add something. You mentioned fathers and postpartum depression, and very well so, because I do feel that there's a lot still to be done. Do you believe that well, NHS and midwives in general have the support they need to support fathers? Because I feel my second child was born here, and everything was centered on my child and me. Nobody ever asked for the fathers. Do you feel that our services are ready for that? Thank you.
This whole vision of fathers with PPD, it's very new. There are recent studies only show that right now. So no, I don't think they have the proper company or the proper support. No, it's usually all to the mother because that's well known. And well, even if you, I remember some years ago, even for mothers, that wasn't recognizable, and it wasn't also supportive. Now, yes, for mothers, they are supporting them, they are helping them, but for fathers, no. It's still very new, and I believe that many people don't even recognize. Even the fathers don't recognize the symptoms themselves. So it's a bit difficult for them, and it's a bit difficult to also it's only in the new stage, in the new steps to help them. No, not yet very, unfortunately, not yet very how do you say it? It's the word in Portuguese, not in English.
As well.
Not open for them.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
But are there any more questions, anybody? Okay, if there's not, again, you can always send more questions. If you think of anything, just drop them in the chat and then I'll forward them to Dora and Marina. Bex, that's over to you now.
Okay. So I try, and I'm going to try and share my screen, and if it doesn't work, then will you be able to share yours? This is a bit easier. Right, let me try. I'm not sure it's going to work. Would you be able to share yours for me? Is that okay?
Yes,
Sorry.
This one. Let's see. And then I've got yours right. There. So, right, can you guys see it?
It hasn't opened yet. It's still just got the PDF
No, not yet.
on it.
Right, let me know when.
No, it's still just got the still just got the picture of the PDF so far. Not actually opened it.
It's up, so it's just, I think it's just loading.
Okay. Okay. Shall I start and then we'll catch up? All right. I'll try and get the slides up on mine.
Just sign in anything, and I'll scroll them.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to talk to you about training and nutrition strategies that you can implement to support your mental health. Quick introduction. My name is Bex. I'm a personal trainer and founder of Strong Mums Club. We work with new mums and their babies to help new mums feel strong, healthy and confident in their postnatal bodies. And I've got 2 children of my own. So I've kind of split it up into 3 sections. So I've got movement, strength training, and nutrition as kind of 3 elements to have a look at. And then the first one is I wanted to talk about was just kind of general movement for your mental health. So how physical activity can boost your mental well-being. And the main thing to kind of know about this is that when you move your body, however you move your body, it triggers the release of feel-good hormones in your body. So you get a flood of endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, which are all kind of the happy hormones in your body. These help reduce stress and anxiety. They improve your sleep. They help your energy levels. Endorphins are like life's natural painkillers, so they help kind of reduce your perception of pain. So they make things feel a bit easier. You might know of kind of the runner's high you get after a tough workout. Serotonin is a bit of a mood stabilizer, so it helps to keep you calm. Helps just promote general feelings of well-being. And then dopamine is kind of like the reward chemical in your brain. So when you've kind of pushed through a tough workout, or when you've achieved something new, you get that dopamine hit, which obviously helps again to improve your well-being and reduce feelings of stress. So these hormones are basically key in kind of helping you maintain a good level of mental well-being and mental health. And when you increase levels of these hormones in your body, it can reduce feelings of overwhelm and burnout, and it can just help you look at situations and look at maybe the chaotic parenting situation you're in with maybe a bit more clarity and a bit of perspective. You don't need to spend hours in the gym to get the benefit of this, okay? So you can just do like 30 minutes a few times a week. If that's not achievable, you can start small. You can start with kind of short little bits of consistent movement in your day. I don't know if you can see the slides, but I've put like some stretches on there and some dancing, walking the dog, playing with your kids. It doesn't need to be like actual exercise as such. It's, it can be dancing around your kitchen. Many parents will say that they don't have time for this. And the biggest thing if I can try and get you to understand, is that when you are in a better place mentally, the rest of your life will start to flow with so much more ease, that you are a bit more productive, that maybe you're a bit more efficient when you're trying to work, or everything's just a bit more positive. So it is worth trying to prioritize your time differently. There will be time in your day. You might be used for something else currently, but there should be time in your day that you can reallocate towards movement to make you feel better during your day. So maybe you could use your commute, maybe you could use your lunch break, maybe you could move with your kids at the weekend. So kind of just start small and then just see where you're at. The next thing I just wanted to touch on as well is strength training as kind of an actual exercise method. Loads of physical health benefits for strength training, particularly for women as we age, for men as we age, just to kind of anti-age our bodies. But it's not just about building muscle. It also has huge mental health benefits. You get the same endorphin hit that you get when you're lifting weight, when you're moving your body. So you get those endorphins that make you feel, you get that bit of a high after you've pushed through a tough workout. You get that dopamine hit because you've lifted weights heavier than you've done, heavier weights than you've done before, and you can feel yourself progressing in something. Again, you get that lowered levels of cortisol and stress hormones in your system. It helps to reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. Lifting weights can help you improve your sleep quality so that you're then more energized when you then go on to parent. And particularly for, I guess, postnatal mums, but also, I guess, for any parents, you can start to become more confident in what your body can do as opposed to potentially what it looks like. And this boost in self-confidence and body image can really truly impact kind of your mental health, because how you feel about yourself is obviously directly affecting your mental health over the rest of your life. So particularly when you're strength training, you just get this huge feeling of empowerment as you see the weights that you are lifting go up, when potentially the rest of your life might feel like it is complete chaos. It is good sometimes to have something that is just for you, that you can go, you can see yourself progressing every single week, you're overcoming challenges every single week. And you've also got that time, just one-on-one time just with you and the gym, where you can literally just focus on yourself and what you're doing. And when you then come back to the family unit, mentally you're just in a much better place to be able to handle what your family are throwing at you. So strength training can help you feel stronger inside and out. You don't have to be in the gym for hours. You can do home workouts, resistance bands, bodyweight workouts. The main thing is that you're just doing something that gradually increases in intensity, so that you're actually, you know, getting stronger and feeling like you're achieving something new each time. Also, just wanted to touch briefly on nutrition for your mental health as well. How you eat and what you eat can really affect how you feel. Your brain needs proper food to function well. So your nutrition will affect your mood. It will affect how well you focus. It will help affect your emotional well-being. But if you can get your diet right, then you're putting yourself in the best possible position to be able to deal with parenting and to be kind of the best version of yourself when you're going through the tough situations that we all know and love. Gut health is a huge one when it comes to your nutrition. So 90% of that happy hormone serotonin is made in your gut. And gut health plays a huge role in kind of your well-being, including your mental health. The more you can look after your gut health by eating kind of fiber-rich foods, so you've got lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of grains, and probiotics, so you've got things like yogurt and kefir. This all helps to lead to a healthier mind, improves your mental health, and can give you a bit more emotional resilience. So trying to eat foods that look after your gut. And then I've just outlined a few key nutrients that you might want to look at in your diet. So there's omega-3 here, which helps reduce inflammation in the body and improve your brain health. This can be found in kind of oily fish. What else is on there? Nuts, seeds, complex carbohydrates. So these help to regulate serotonin production, so that improves that feeling of wellness and calmness. So if you can eat complex carbohydrates, so you've got like breads, potatoes, bananas, particularly at nighttime actually, because that then releases serotonin and then relaxes your body so that you can have a good night's sleep. B vitamins found in kind of bananas, meats, fish, eggs. These all support energy and brain function. So you're just getting your mind, your whole body in a really good place to then support your mental health as a parent. And then magnesium is another one to have to think about trying to include in your diet. So again, you've got nuts, you've got seeds, you've got dark chocolate, and this really helps with stress and sleep. Staying hydrated, 60% of your body is made up of water. So if you are dehydrated, this can lead to fatigue and it can lead to irritability, which again is not going to be good for managing your mental health, particularly if you're kind of dealing with stressful situations. So trying to make sure that you are staying on top of your hydration throughout the day. And then finally, just a few things to maybe eat in moderation. Processed foods are going to be really high in additives and very nutritionally low value. So they're not going to give your brain the support it needs to recover, to deal with stress, and to manage kind of difficult situations potentially. If you've got a diet that is very high in sugar, you're going to be experiencing energy highs and lows throughout the day, and this can have a huge impact on your mood, and obviously your mood will then affect your mental health. So if you can avoid excess sugar and then try and balance sugar out all the way through the day, then that is going to lead to a bit more of a stabilized energy level and much stable mood as you negotiate your day. And then the final one was just caffeine. So caffeine can really increase anxiety and disrupt your sleep. So if you have issues with anxiety, caffeine is maybe one to remove or reduce. And then if caffeine does affect your sleep, then it's worth thinking about having that 6 to 8 hour caffeine cutoff before you go to bed, just so that it doesn't impact how well you sleep at night, because the sleep is then when you're going to be recovering, and that's when your mental health is going to improve, you know, when you're getting that rest, when you've gotten that recovery, so that you can then face the next day. So that's it. So just to summarize, movement and nutrition can have a huge impact on your mental health. 3 main things I would suggest you do: make time to move your body daily. It doesn't have to be a workout, you can just do a little bit. Eat a variety of whole, unprocessed, nutritious foods, and then try and stay hydrated. And that's it from me. If anyone wants to find me, I'm on Instagram at Strong Mums Club HQ.
Oh, sorry, I took that out too soon.
That's okay.
Right. Does anybody have a question for Bex?
I have just one about you talked about the caffeine and processed foods and all that. How about chocolate? Because I hear that chocolate is good for the brain, but I'm not sure if it is really that good or if it's
So chocolate, dark chocolate. So chocolate in its purest form, so cocoa without all the added sugar, is good for your brain. So the cocoa as in its purest form is good for your brain. So you really, if you're eating it as a healthy food, you really want to try and go for something that is, I would say 70% and above cocoa, maybe 80% if you can, but it does start to taste less tasty the higher the percentage. And then the more milk and the more it's processed, then that's when you start to get that, your average bar of dairy milk is not going to be healthy for you, but you want the things that are kind of high cocoa, or there's cacao powder, which I love to add to like yogurts and things like that, and that is very high in magnesium, so that's going to be very good for your mental health. But chocolate, definitely have it, but just try and aim for the high. If you're looking at it from a healthy point of view, aim for the high cocoa percentage.
right. Thank you.
But it is good from a mental health perspective in terms of helping you relax. So I'd never say cut that one out.
It's not so much it's somewhat a question, somewhat just an observation. Like I've been like a coffee drinker my whole life, and I was just like at but basically I heard someone talking about like just try replacing coffee with tea. And like I'm 2 weeks in and it's been like nice. Like it feels good. And like I really never thought that I still really like coffee, but I don't know. So I'm kind of wondering on this whether you know anything about this, and no worries if you don't, but like coffee like in the morning, or like if I'm gonna have coffee, what would be the best time for it, if
So
you know?
when you wake up first thing in the morning, your body actually naturally releases cortisol, and that's kind of the
Yeah.
stress hormone that gets you up anyway out of bed. So what most people do, and I do this every single morning as well, so the first thing I do when I get up is have coffee, but you don't need it then, because actually the body's natural hormones are kicking in at that point. What you should do in an ideal world is wait, probably, I don't know the exact timing, so I think it's like 45 minutes, an hour or something, for that cortisol spike to level off. Then I think you should actually have protein first, and then you can have the coffee, and then it will have less impact on your less of a stress response on your system. And also, in terms of, a lot of people are now sort of like trying to stop having coffee, but there's actually nothing inherently bad in caffeine necessarily. It's only if you find that you can't function without it that it suddenly obviously becomes an issue, because you're relying on a stimulant to get you through the day, rather than, if you enjoy a couple of coffees in the morning and it doesn't interfere with your sleep, I wouldn't be too fussed about it, to be honest. Maybe not first thing in the morning like I do, but you have to see how it works.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting about like you've already got the cortisol. So
Yeah.
because I feel like coffee makes me jittery, and I
Yeah.
kind of sometimes enjoy it, but it's jittery.
It
Yeah.
affects everybody in completely different ways. It's a very unique experience for everyone. So, yeah, enjoy the tea.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. If anybody has any further questions for Rebecca, please put them on the chat again and I will forward them. Thank you, Rebecca. That was amazing and it was so informative as well. Thank you so much.
Okay.
What I have next, we have Amanda and we have Natasha's recordings. So I'm going to share my screen and then I'm just going to share Natasha's as well. So just give me a moment. I'm gonna put this one.
I am from North Star Ned.
Right, just can anybody just make a sign if you can see the screen?
Yes, we can see the
Yep.
screen.
Okay.
And I will be talking about grounding exercises for emotional regulation and nervous system care today. So a little quick introduction. As I said, my name is Amanda, and I was lucky enough to receive my training from two neuroscientists, Dr. Greg Kirschenbaum and Dr. Rocio Zunini, a Canadian and a Spanish neuroscientist, and I'm one of the world's first nurture neuroscience practitioners. You might be thinking, what does that mean? This certification includes infant sleep consultancy, and I also run a Mummy and Me circle class for new mums and their babies in that first or the fourth trimester after birth. And a big focus here is on maternal mental health and nervous system care, which is what I will be talking about today. So I can hear it already. Maybe you're thinking, I just don't have time. And a lot of us think we need to wake up at 5 in the morning, before the sun's up, before all the children are awake, and journal, do a 2-hour meditation or grounding exercises before the whole family's awake. And you do not need to go to those extremes. If you have a huge support system and you can dedicate time in the morning, wonderful, that's great. A lot of us don't have that. So we need really quick, practical and effective methods. And those are exactly the exercises that I teach, ones that really work and can be done very quickly on the go. And practically are just really easy to do. And I start every circle class with the mums that I work with a grounding exercise. And I'm sure we have a huge range of parents here in terms of the age of your children. I'm sure you can remember the newborn days when it feels like you just don't have time to even brush your teeth. So I really try and encourage teaching mums this right off the bat when you've got literally a couple of minutes to yourself, or not even to yourself, doing it while holding baby. And yes, as you all remember, it's a struggle in the newborn days, but there's ways that we can work on our nervous system care and lots of grounding exercises we can do that are quick, practical, and effective. So the importance of nervous system care. There are such high demands on parents today, and of course there are lots of physical benefits and of nervous system care as well as mental benefits for all humans. And I just want to talk specifically about the benefits for parents. So parenting, particularly in the early days, is really, really rewarding, profoundly rewarding, but very, very challenging, and it's difficult to stay regulated. And when we are emotionally regulated, it allows for better connection. So the importance of nervous system care as working parents is allowing for better connection and to model healthy coping mechanisms. And that connection element is key. Many of us, maybe nursery or the childminder, that's your village, and you're working out of necessity and having to spend long amounts of time away from especially young children. So that connection element is absolutely key. The more we can regulate ourselves, the more it can allow for better connection. And my area of expertise is infant sleep and staying calm and regulated, which, as you know, for nap times, bedtimes, it is crucial to stay calm and regulated. So I just wanted to talk about the window of tolerance really quickly. This is a concept by Dr. Daniel Siegel, and it can help you to visualize this window if you're ever feeling like you're about to go over, bubble over into a stress response. So the window is a place of feeling grounded, a place where you feel able to emotionally self-regulate, you feel flexible, open, curious, and present. And if you start going above that window of tolerance, that's known as hyperarousal. This is where you might be snapping, yelling, overwhelmed, a bit chaotic, and this is your fight or flight response. If you go underneath that window, this is known as hypoarousal. This is our freeze state, our freeze response, where you might feel numb, passive, even depressed, shame, and shutting down. And we want to aim to remain in that window of self-regulation, feeling able to emotionally self-regulate as much as we can. And we will naturally fluctuate. Even the most regulated person in the world is going to be going into hyper and hypo. And it's impossible to stay in that window all the time. We're not striving for perfection here. We will naturally fluctuate between these, but there are things that we can do to widen or return that window of tolerance. So number one is self-awareness. So noticing your early stress cues, really get curious with yourself and what are your individual early stress cues. And for me, that tense jaw, I get clumsy, I breath hold, and I get quieter actually. Some people, you might get louder, you might start breathing more heavily. It's going to be very individual to you. But just a little bit of building that self-awareness of noticing your early stress cues. And this takes time as well, so be patient with yourself. And many of us did not have this model to us growing up, and we're breaking cycles here. So if you can relate to this, I sort of hold space for you, because this is really, really challenging work. And becoming or being a parent is one of the best motivators to do this work. And as I said, you can even widen this window, which is motivating as well. A greater chance of staying within this window. Some of us have very, very short windows. As I say, maybe our upbringings haven't been the best modeling to us of how to stay regulated and calm ourselves down or return to that window. Number two, as a way to return or widen that one, is nervous system care. And there are probably about 10 things I could talk about, but just for the purpose of this small slot for this webinar, I just wanted to focus on the self-awareness and nervous system care. So let's jump into the first nervous system exercise. And this is my absolute favorite. So it's called a mini brain break, and it is as simple as it looks. You do not need to be setting aside 45 minutes of your day of quiet meditation or giving your brain a break. This can be 1 to 2 minutes regularly throughout the day, and research shows this can be as profound as one big session. And there's no structure to this, which is another reason I love this for parents. You could be waiting for the kettle to boil, maybe even at work, or maybe you're stopping at Tesco before you pick up the kids. And maybe you have 1 to 2 minutes before you need to get out the car to do your Tesco shop. And often we are just on the go. But realistically, we probably have 1 to 2 minutes regularly throughout the day where you can just attentionally shift inwards. Now, all you're going to do with a mini brain break is close your eyes and breathe naturally and just settle into bringing your attention inwards. You can relax your jaw and your shoulders and breathe at your own pace. There's no structure with the pace of breathing, and just let any thoughts that come in pass right through. And it's just purely an attentional shift inwards. We are so overstimulated by the external, whether it's at work or at home. There's musical toys going off and children having meltdowns or siblings fighting, the dishwasher's beeping, the radio's on, your phone's beeping, and that is a lot of external stimulation. I'm sure many of you probably are nodding along saying, yes, I can relate to that one. So giving your brain an intentional shift of attention inwards is called a mini brain break. Practice this a couple of times a day and it can be profound. It could just help you stay in that window of tolerance a little bit because you're just managing throughout the day, giving your brain just a little breather. Number two, vagus nerve stimulation. Now this one is for stress and anxiety relief. And one of the main nerves in our body is the parasympathetic nerve, and it's the longest nerve in the body as well. And it has lots of branches that go to our ears also. If you are prone to anxiety or that shallow breath, this one is for you. And all you're going to be doing is lightly massaging and applying pressure to 3 different areas of your ear. And as you can see in the diagram there, they're labeled. And the first one is just that little hollow above your ear canal, above the little ridge. So just in this part here. It's difficult showing my tiny little box here. Some people might find it easier to use like your knuckle, or if you've got long nails, some people like to use a knuckle. And you're just going to massage really lightly, applying pressure to this area of the ear for 30 seconds on each side. And then number 2 is the bottom of the ear at the tip of the canal, just right in this region here. Again, just really light pressure. You don't want to be really firmly going in. Just light pressure just stimulates your vagus nerve, and it helps us enter the parasympathetic state, that rest and digest. Number 3 is you can just use your earlobes and take one finger and one thumb and massage your earlobes really, really gently. Again, just for 30 seconds on each side. If you're short on time, do both ears at the same time. You absolutely can do. Maybe you've only got 2 minutes again, or 2 to 3 minutes. You could be doing this at the same time as well. And you can also notice, before you do this, look left and look right. After you've done vagus nerve stimulation, you might notice a huge difference in your range of motion and your neck mobility. Because there's so many cranial nerves, it's all linked. If you are prone to migraines, this can be a really good one for migraine relief. If you're staring at a computer screen a lot, or you're just feeling quite stressed, some people get that like pain or that tightness between your eyes. This can completely soften in between your eyes as well. You might find your sinuses start to run after doing this one, and it's just amazing. The amount of benefits that come out of this really is phenomenal. When I did this one in the Mummy and Me class, every single mum was wowed. They were like, I cannot believe, and everyone had different benefits. Some people said, my sinuses have opened up. One mum said, gosh, I've not been able to turn my neck for a while that way. Others just felt more clarity and calm. So there's a huge range of benefits of doing vagus nerve stimulation. And you might have heard of something called ear seeds. You can buy these little stickers that have little beads on that you can place in these areas of the ear, and it's just gently stimulating, doing it for you effectively. So some people wear these to sleep, and you can wake up and you feel a little bit more relaxed. Whether it's placebo, I'm not sure that there's concrete evidence on the ear seeds, but it's this same idea of that vagus nerve stimulation. Number 3 is alternate nasal breathing, and I absolutely love this one as well. Again, we can do it with very little structure at your own pace, and it connects our left and our right brain. So when we alternate the breath through each nostril, the left and the right hemisphere can be connected. You might resonate with a feeling of fogginess, or at some points of the day you just can't quite focus, or you lack clarity. This one can really promote a feeling of calm, clarity, and focus. And this is a lovely nervous system reset. And that stimulates the vagus nerve again. Now the breathing pattern is you're going to be breathing out of one nostril, breathe back in the same nostril, and switch sides. So breathe out, breathe in, switch sides. There's different ways you can use your hand. You can just simply use one finger to block each nostril, or you can take your hand like this, like the photo. I'll show you it to the camera, where you're bending these two fingers. Oh, sorry. And we're going to use the ring finger and the thumb. I'll show you this backwards, sorry. To just like the photograph here. So you can just close one nostril with your thumb. Breathe out the nostril that's open. Breathe in. Use your ring finger to close. Breathe out that side. So breathe in. Switch sides. Breathe out. Breathe in. Switch sides. Breathe out. So you're just switching the breath between each nostril. And just a couple of minutes of this, the feeling of calm you can get afterwards is really, really profound. And so I'm excited for you guys to try this one if it's something that you've not tried before. This was one when I first started doing yoga, must have been, 10, maybe 15 years ago now, I'm showing my age. We did this exercise and I was just absolutely stunned at the difference. It's the first time I'd ever come across any sort of nervous system care and stimulating the vagus nerve. And for somebody like myself, I grew up with a lot of anxiety, and it just changed everything for me. So I'm really excited if you've not tried this one before. And before I finish up, I just wanted to talk about meeting your physical needs. It sounds really obvious, good diet and making sure you've been to the bathroom, movement, sleep, exercise, all the things we get told about healthy living all the time. But really think about meeting your needs, particularly for times like bedtime. And again, my area is infant sleep, so I talk a lot about this topic with families. But for working parents, you're already exhausted. You've been getting them ready for nursery in the morning, a full day at work, coming back, thinking about dinner, and then it's bedtime. Maybe you dread bedtime. Maybe bedtime's difficult for you. And many of us, if bedtime's taking a while, what's the underlying need that's driving our behavior? Maybe we start going into that hyper arousal and start yelling, why won't you go to sleep, or anything like that. Or maybe we start shutting down and feeling almost depressed at bedtime, thinking this is just taking forever, this is a marathon. And if we think about the underlying needs that might be driving our behavior, maybe you really need a wee, and that is what is driving your feelings in that moment of bedtime. Or maybe there's a hot meal downstairs that's getting colder and you're hungry. Try and meet your needs before times like bedtime, and particularly nervous system care. If you have the ability to spend 2 minutes doing a mini brain break, some alternate nasal breathing before you go into bedtime, getting yourself into that relaxed state will have a profound impact on things like bedtime. And your little ones pick up on our energy. If we go into bedtime feeling tense and think, in our heads we're thinking, to get through this, I've got a long list of things to do. And that's no judgment or shame for parents wanting to maybe get through bedtime. You might have loads to do still after bedtime. The pressures on parents today are really, really tough, and you might not have much of a support village at all. Maybe husbands working evenings or partners working evenings, and it's maybe all falling on you after a full day at work. So meet your underlying needs as much as you can and spend a couple of minutes before bedtime, or times that you find quite stressful, doing practices like these that are really quick, effective, and practical as well. If you wanted to contact me for any more insight or support, there's my number, website, and email address. The company is North Star Nurture. I'm an infant sleep consultant, and I work with new mums as well in a physical setting at the Glencore Centre on a Wednesday morning for my mummy and me baby class. Thank you all so much, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there live.
Right. I thought it was really good, really, really informative, really nice, easy exercises to do that are really quick as well. And they went really well with what both Emily and Dora and Rebecca were saying. Just take care of yourself as well so you can be better for your kids. Now, finally, just to wrap it up, I have Natasha. Natasha sent us a pre-recorded video as well. She's going to be mostly focusing on special needs children, special education needs children. So I'm also going to share my screen for that one. So, this one. Share. Right. Can you guys tell me if you're seeing my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Hello and welcome to my talk today. My name is Natasha Iregbu and I'll be sharing a 10-minute, round about 10-minute talk about taking care of your mental health when raising a child who's got additional support needs or special educational needs. I hope you're enjoying the webinar so far. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my work. My name is Natasha Iregbu, like you said, and I'm the founder of Butterfly Minds. So this is my business that I created in June 2021, and I primarily work with parents and caregivers and families in general who are neurodiverse families, as well as providing workshops and activities for schools, community groups relating to mindfulness and storytelling sessions, which leads me on to my next hat that I wear, which is I'm an author of 3 mindfulness books, 2 picture books, Slow Down Amaya and Slow Down Sammy, and my 3rd book, Mindful Living, a guide for you and your family, which is a mindfulness-based book for parents and carers looking to slow down and feel more present through mindfulness through storytelling. And a mindfulness coach and a children and teenagers creative mindfulness teacher. And I've got just over 15 years experience within the community education field across youth work, community development, and I've also worked with older people in the past. So we're lots of different hats, and I've worked with many different people, a lot of kids who have additional support needs, as well as kids from various different backgrounds, and adults as well. And in this talk, I'll be sharing my tips, tools, and strategies to help you slow down and be kinder to yourself, which leads me on to my next slide about practical tools that are mindfulness based and ways to manage and deal with any stress that's arising for you while looking after your child. The first technique that I'm going to share today is a breathing technique for using your hand. You can follow along with me. I'll demonstrate, and you can join me. You can come to a comfortable position, and you can be seated or any other. You standing if that's better for you. And this is hand breathing, so you can start with your hand closed to get to the camera. And when you're ready, slowly breathing in as you open your hand, and slowly breathing out as you close your hand. And again, inhaling, opening your hand up. And exhale, closing your hand. And one more time, breathing in. And breathing out. And you can bring your hand down. And taking a few moments here to notice how you're feeling. Noticing if you're feeling maybe more relaxed or grounded from before. This technique is one that you can share with your children and your family as well. You can try it with children might like to try it with both hands or just one hand. One hand's quite a good way to do it, but some kids might want to use both hands if they're tactile, using both hands. So that's the first way that I think is a good way to ground yourself, especially if you're feeling stressed and you just need a few moments to yourself that you can use and access anywhere. The second way is tuning into your senses. So you can use your senses wherever you are, indoor or outdoors, and they're a way to ground from both feel present within your body as well as externally. Some people don't like or don't feel comfortable tuning in more to their internal sensations, but some prefer out external, so you can, or some don't mind either. So I would include this as a way to give different options. I'll run through the different senses. Or touch can be if your hands are touching something, or to clothes that you've got on, or anything else. Like what texture of the item that's touching you. Is it rough or smooth or soft? And the temperature, warm or cold, whatever you're touching. And feel, so noticing it's like an internal sense of feeling how you are in your body. You're feeling relaxed or tense or anything else. And one way related to feelings is trying to be kinder and non-judgmental towards your feelings. So if you are feeling, if you've got your shoulders feeling tight, or you might have disability or anything else that you might feel that makes your body feel uncomfortable, and seeing if you can sit and allow any feelings that come up when you're paying attention to your senses without saying I wish it felt differently, or I wish I didn't have this feeling. Just noticing when the thought does come up and then letting it pass by and bringing your attention back to the focus. So it could be your feelings or any other senses. So allowing thoughts that come up and letting them pass by without judging them. I did forget to mention at the beginning, if there's any senses that you don't have available to you, don't worry, you can use any senses that are available to you. And the next one is see, so looking around your space, seeing any colours, patterns, or anything else noticeable, and just focusing your full attention on sight. Hear, listening to any sounds within your space, quiet or loud sounds, the tone, if the sounds are coming from far away or close by or within your room, or the sounds from within your own body as well. You can listen to your breathing, or if you can feel your heart or hear your heart. If it's really quiet, feel your heartbeat. And the last two senses are taste, so you can practice mindful eating, or you can just bring taste into the general senses when you're grounded with your senses. You can practice noticing the flavours, they're sweet, salty, sour, or any other flavours. And the final sense I'm going to speak about today is smell. Noticing if it is food, you can notice the smell, or if it's something that you can see, like you could see a flower, or it could be a fake flower, or you could see a candle. You might think, oh, I wonder what that smells like, and thinking about what it could smell like. So the senses are a really helpful way to help you feel more calmer and connected to the present moment. You can do this. You can pick one sense if you're feeling particularly stressed or overwhelmed in a situation. If you're at a meeting or anything else, you think, oh, I just need a moment to myself. You can use the breathing technique with your hand, even if it's under a table, taking one or three breaths, how many breaths, or you can use one of your senses to help you feel more present, calm. The next step I'll talk about is the developing kindness to yourself. And when you're a parent or carer that spends a lot of your time and energy caring for and supporting your child, you might feel a sense of guilt of wanting to have time to look after yourself, or thinking that you don't deserve time to yourself, or that everyone else's needs are before your needs, which can be a hard thing to change in your mind, because a lot of time within society is almost needs to put everyone else first before yourself. But I wanted to remind you that you deserve to take care of yourself as well and prioritize your own needs. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to look after your child. It means that when you do look after your own mental health, that it impacts your child and your family. So if you're running on low energy, often children can pick up how you're feeling, even if they don't have any words, they can sense it. So if you're feeling tired and exhausted, they might be able to feel it. So the more you bring in small tools to look after your own well-being, it'll impact you and your family as well. One way that you can do this and develop kindness to yourself and look after your own mental health is through the stop technique. So this technique you can use at any time in any situation, or if you just need a few moments to sit and collect your thoughts. A simple technique that can be quite tricky to do sometimes if you're in the heat of the moment or something that's feeling a bit stressful. But stop stands for S for stop or pause. So stop completely what you're doing. So you take a deep breath. So you can breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Or you can take the inhale and exhale through your nose, whichever feels more comfortable. And observing the thoughts and feelings that are coming up. Taking a few moments to reflect and see what thoughts are flying about your head, or how you're feeling in your mind and your body, and not judging, like I was saying before, not judging what those feelings are or any thoughts, seeing if you can be kinder to yourself and allow yourself to feel them without trying to get rid of them or saying, oh, I don't want to have those feelings. And then after that, you've taken a few moments, you can proceed to mindfully take the next steps in action from a kinder place and a calmer space for your own mind. Oh, I'll pause it. So I had another slide there. But I'm running out of time, close to running out of time. So I want to end by saying thank you, and if you're looking for more support or guidance about bringing more strategies to help reduce stress while parenting, I particularly work with parents and carers within neurodiverse families, but the tools and techniques can be used by anyone. So I've got a blog on my website, a podcast, and a free guided meditation that pops up on my website when people subscribe to my mailing list, which is an option as well if you want to hear more from me. And the last slide is a thank you from me. Thank you for listening to. I hope you found it helpful. And if you would like to get in touch with me or ask any questions about anything, these are my contact details that you can, and where you can find me. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the webinar, and I'll hopefully connect with you at some point in the future.
Right, that was it from Natasha. I just want to really thank everybody for coming. I think to me, this has been immensely productive and lots of really important messages to be taken. And I hope this was helpful for everybody, regardless if you're a parent or not. All right, so thank you very much again to everybody. And so the webinar will be available on the website, Work+Play hub.com really soon, and it will be made available on our social medias as well with links. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone again.
Thank you, Karina.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.